Here to introduce my boss, Dr. Kent Smith, who's the president of Langston. He came in June of 2012 and has made tremendous differences in the school in that time. He got his bachelor's from Louisiana Southern, how do you pronounce that?
Southern University.
Southern University. What about the one in Texas? There is a Texas. Two historically black colleges, and they can't think of a new name. It's just terrible. And then he went on and eventually got his ND at Colorado State, which I often ask him, why did you leave? And he has no answer yet. A couple more years at Langston, he may have a few answers, I don't know. He's been around.
Can you hear me? Okay. So by show of hands, how many new, do they call you Jim around here?
They call me worse than that.
No. Oh, that's true. Actually, they must know you very well if it's among other things. For those of you who know, I know him as Dr. Showalter, but know Dr. Showalter, he's a man who speaks his mind, and so really to have him introduce me and say at least a couple of nice things is a pleasant surprise. It's actually pretty funny because he's very modest. What he did not tell you is that our faculty, the Langston University faculty, selected him to represent them and to serve on what we call the administrative council, where he's come to the dark side, where he's meeting with administrators every week. But the funny thing is that your new suit? He told me, he said, I'm really upset with you. What's wrong, Doc? He said, I just bought the first suit that I've had in how many years?
About 25.
About 25 years. So how about a round of applause for his new suit? He's showing it all different. No, Dr. Showalter, I do want to thank you for your historic legacy at Langston University. Again, you don't talk about all the things you've done for a lot of students. Dr. Showalter is known as one of those tough professors that if you're just trying to get by and not do a lot of work, he's not the guy that the students take. But what we do know is that when students come through his class, if they've gotten an A or a B, they earned it because he's not giving anything. And we need more professors who are like that to challenge our young people on a daily basis. So I just want to give some back to you and thank you for all that you continue to do for our students, but for dear Langston every single day. Folks, it's good to be with you. This is my first time in the library in Stillwater, but it won't be my last because my 6-year-old is very excited. His latest thing are actually libraries and reading books. And what Doc did not say is that I am a proud father of 5 children. I have a 21-year-old who's a senior in college in Louisiana. She'll graduate. Some of you are shaking your heads like, what is he thinking? I'll come to that in a second. I finally figured out what causes babies to come. So I couldn't figure it out. But we have 5 children. I have a 21-year-old who will graduate from college in May at the University of Louisiana in Lafayette in broadcast journalism. She spent the past summer actually here doing an internship in Oklahoma City, and much to my surprise, about 3 weeks ago, she said, Dad, I love Oklahoma City. And she said, I think I want to move there when I graduate. As a father who's been away from his daughter for a while, day to day, the one thing you learn about having kids is whenever you want them to do something, you don't tell them. You get somebody else to tell them. So for her, if I said, why don't you come and live in Oklahoma City, she said, oh, no way. But that's where my only daughter, and then I have 4 sons, 19. And so what does every smart guy does, or what does he do when you are divorced and having 2 kids? You marry someone 10 years younger than you with no kids. And now I have 3 more children. And so I now have a 6-year-old, a 2-year-old, and an 8-month-old at home. If I lean down enough, you'll see the hair is leaving, and that is why. But my proudest thing that I do on a daily basis is that of being a parent. I can't think of anything more pressing and more important in our society of being a parent. And it's such a big thing because today, so many, with people's lives being so busy, so many of our young people are without one or both of their parents being at home in any significant amount of time. And so we actually spend a lot of time in Stillwater. My wife's favorite restaurant is Chick-fil-A. Often tell us, you're a great person to date. When we were dating, great person to date because we go to Chick-fil-A and she's just happy. But she's a big fan. We can find us typically in Chick-fil-A, of course not on Sundays, but on Saturdays. We tend to be in Chick-fil-A somewhere in the state of Oklahoma. That's actually true. So that's my family in a nutshell. We've been here about 16 months, but I'm so excited to have an opportunity to talk with you a little bit about HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, what they meant to our society, and then I'll spend about five to 7 minutes talking about HBCUs because not a lot of people know about the historical legacy of how they came to be, and then I'll talk about Langston University and the things that I think HBCUs are faced with, because I really do believe that historically black colleges and universities in the next, so actually you're seeing some now, but in the next 10 years, I think potentially we could see a minimum of 10% of historically black colleges and universities close its doors if we don't start to focus in different ways. And I'll talk about those key points of why I think it's so important. So let me just kind of gauge who's here so I don't talk at you for 10 to 15 minutes. By show of hands, how many of you, why'd you come today? I'm somebody, is it the food or did you get paid to come? Was it Dr. Showalter? Yes, ma'am.
Well, because of Dr. Showalter, and then I taught myself.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you. Appreciate the support.
What'd she say?
Because of Dr. Showalter, his suit, she heard about his suit. She said because of Dr. Showalter, and also she taught at Langston. As what?
We heard you speak at the Martin Luther King holiday.
Okay.
And liked what you said.
Oh, thank
And I
you.
recommended you.
Oh, shoot, I better change up. I was giving that same speech today, so I better change up. So thank you very much. Anyone else? What brought you out? So I want to make sure I fulfill what you were hoping to get, because there's a lot we can talk about.
Oh, I think we all could learn something about Langston.
Because while 72% have never set foot on the campus, we found out that 68% when asked could not name one academic program associated with Langston University. And the irony is, Langston University has some very prolific academic programs. Our problem has been not telling anyone about it. So I'll talk some about that. Yes, sir.
I came because I'm interested in the GOAT project and what it's doing for the food systems around the world.
Sure. Okay. We'll certainly have some conversations about that. My good Colorado friend there, you've given me a new place to go in Colorado, so I appreciate that. Anyone else? Okay. So yes, ma'am.
Good football team.
Oh, yeah. We'll certainly talk. You said good football team? Yes. In fact, the claim to fame for Langston University is now, actually my first hire, we hired Mike Garrett, who had retired 2 years previously. He was the former AD at the University of Southern California. Langston University is now the only university in the United States of America at any athletic level that has a director of athletics that's won a Heisman Trophy. Mike won the 1965 Heisman Trophy. He was a student athlete at USC and went on to work actually for Jerry Buss with the Lakers and wound up getting into college athletics through USC and then became the AD. Won I think something like 38 national championships. And what the athletic program, you know it as USC, is really one that he built. And certainly he's putting us on a much larger course. So all of you get free tickets to the game. We have one. Seriously, if you want a free ticket to our next home game, consider that done. I know you came out for the food and Dr. Showalter, but we'll give you all free tickets if you'd like to come. We have very, very good athletic facilities. Now, it's not like the Brightest Orange here in Stillwater. We're looking for our Boone's Pickens so we can have something similar. But seriously, we have really nice facilities. and we compete in the NAIA league. So let me talk a little bit about the history of HBCUs, and again, I'll talk about Langston. And then I think that this is an engaging group, so then I'll open it up where we can have some dialogue back and forth. Any idea of how many HBCUs there are throughout the U.S.? And by the way, HBCUs are community colleges, 2-year institutions, and 4-year institutions. And I like to clarify that because most people think of them solely as 4-year institutions. So out of all those, how many do you think there are in the U.S., HBCU, categorized as a historically black college? Take a guess.
18.
18, okay. 150? Yes, ma'am, you're right. See, you taught at Langston. That's why you're so smart. You said 106, right?
No,
106 is right. Good job. Very good. See, yeah, she worked at Langston. She knew that. I know 106. She's going, no, 70. So I'm like, no, 106. But there are currently 106 historically black colleges and universities throughout the United States. And I guess I wanted to talk a little bit. Most of the HBCUs are located in former, what we know as former slave states. And in fact, Langston University is the most westward HBCU in the United States of America. And so we tend to get a huge draw from, in particular, Texas and the state of California, which is a tremendous competitive advantage because if you're westward of here, Langston University would be a very logical place to consider going to college if you're looking for, in particular, the HBCU experience. The HBCUs that we know today, for the most part, if not all, but certainly the overwhelming majority, came as a result of the two Morrill Acts. Some may recall the Morrill Act of 1862 that provided for land-grant colleges for states, and certainly that's where a lot, my alma mater, Southern University, had its start through the first Morrill Act. And then the second Morrill Act actually came some 30 years later, 1892. By the way, I'm a historian. I was a history major, and so that's probably why Dr. Showalter and I get along so well. But for those of you who are not, you'll hear a lot of numbers. But I like history, which incidentally, you should also, if you've not studied the history of either Africans or African Americans, former slaves in the state of Oklahoma, I would encourage you to look at that history. I'm embarrassed to say that as a history major, I never learned about the history of this territory that we now know as Oklahoma. At one point, a group of freed slaves and landowners actually thought that this territory would become an area made up of solely African Americans. It would be an African American state. And so when you think of things like the Black Wall Street that was in Tulsa and different things, there's a significant history in this territory that deals with slaves and former landowners who worked together. And in fact, that's how Langston University got its start. So I wanted you to know a little bit about the Morrill Act, the acts and the role that they played in the establishment of historically black colleges and universities. And because at one point, in particular with the second Morrill Act, it required for African Americans to be able to have higher education. And so rather than have integration at predominantly white institutions, most states who created HBCUs created them so that Africans or African Americans would have their own university. Sort of like the separate but equal doctrine where they would be separate. And so move forward into today's society, you see something different in terms of what's happening between integration and different universities. But it also provides a tremendous challenge, I think, to historically black colleges and universities, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. In a nutshell, HBCUs are no different from any other higher educational institution in terms of the mission. The mission is to provide a high quality education, and to provide a means of individuals prospering, but doing it through education. That's fundamentally what I think higher education it's all about, in bettering a society, but doing it through education so that we have well-rounded individuals who could give back to others. And so often, I think we fail to mention that to young people. We like to think that the majority of our 18 to 22-year-olds are actually in college today, but the truth is there are more 18 to 22-year-olds in America who are not in college, who will never go to college, than those who are. As an American population, only 25%, we forget this sometimes, but 25% of Americans hold a bachelor's degree. And so this notion that everyone is going to college is just simply not true. My 19-year-old now he's a senior at Guthrie High School. Just last night we were having a conversation because he's starting to apply to colleges and universities. And he has this mindset that everybody goes to college. And it's just not true. A lot don't go because they can't afford it. A lot fail to go because they've just never been exposed and no one's really talked to them about the fact that college is possible if you've worked hard and done well academically. But I just mention that because so often colleges and universities sort of get a bad rap that somehow we're taking advantage of people. But the truth is we help people in generations of future family members by affording an opportunity for young people to get a college degree. So let me move forward and talk a little bit about the great Langston University. I can't tell you how excited I am to have an opportunity to represent Langston University and to be what I call the chief ambassador on a daily basis. I knew the Langston University name, but the truth is I had no idea when I accepted the job of just how prolific Langston University has been. We just celebrated 116 years since our founding. A lot of people don't know that. Langston didn't just come around yesterday. We'll celebrate the 117th anniversary next March. But that's significant because that means that I stand on the shoulders of a lot of people who've made Langston University what it is, and certainly my role is to build upon the great legacy that we already have and to make us even stronger by working with numerous people. Contrary to popular belief, Langston University is not named after Langston Hughes. How many of you thought it was named after Langston Hughes? See, that's okay. Don't worry, a lot of other people thought the same thing. They just won't admit it in here. So I appreciate you being honest. But Langston University is named after John Mercer Langston, who was the first African-American United States congressman in the 1800s, first dean of Howard University's law school, first president of Virginia State University, very significant figure. As best that I can tell, not a lot of connection with the state of Oklahoma, but when the freedmen and the landowners got together and decided that they wanted to purchase a tract of land, they wanted to name the university after a prominent African American. And John Mercer Langston was that person. He has a significant history, actually a lot of history in the state of Ohio, where I moved from. Never went to law school. He was an attorney by training. Blacks could not go to law school during the 1800s. And so a judge took him in as an apprentice and trained him at night. Went and took the bar, having never attended law school, and passed. And became obviously a prominent educational figure nationally. So that's where the university name comes from. Actually tried to go to his to his burial site about 8 months ago and had trouble finding it. The graveyard where he's located in Washington, D.C. Has gone through some financial difficulties. And I think actually Dr. Holloway led a pilgrimage former 2 presidents ago at Langston University. Many of you probably know the name Ernest L. Holloway, one of the historic figures. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to be able to say, sort of, to go to his grave site, but wasn't able to find it. At any rate, we are the only university that has both a land grant mission and an urban mission in the state of Oklahoma. And that's pretty significant when you really stop and think about the varied mission that we have as an institution. because the state of Oklahoma, we certainly have the need for both. And as you know, agriculture is very critical to what we do as a state and our the economics of our state. And it's certainly something that we'll talk about shortly. So let me fast forward and talk about HBCUs and the things that I think we should be thinking about and why I think so many of us are struggling in terms of to operate and to be prosperous. The first piece that I think is very interesting is while certainly we have a historical piece of being for African Americans, the truth is today's African American high school student or even non-traditional student, they have a lot more choices that are available to them, whereas for my parents, they had to attend an HBCU. My grandparents, if they were going to go to school, they had to attend an HBCU. But today's student, they have a plethora of choices. And while certainly we're good neighbors, for instance, with Oklahoma State, we're in the same system, we're partners. But the truth is, Oklahoma State is fighting for students just like Langston University is fighting for students. And the same students that we want to attract, trust me, Burns-Hargis wants them to be in Stillwater. And it's a peaceful coexistence, but it's fierce. People are having less and less students, less and less children. You wouldn't know it from me. But people are, as a whole, are having less children today. And as a result, less children are available from that pool to get them and convince them to go to college. And so HBCUs are fighting what I call fighting the historic legacy. We can no longer continue to be solely who we've been for the past, however long we've been founded, 100 years. And places like Langston University, and this, I have some people who are even upset with me because I've said this publicly. I said it during my interview process that if I were to get the job, Langston University is not there just to serve blacks or African Americans. We have to open the doors to everyone because what people are looking for today is an education that is of high quality but that is affordable as well. And I believe that there's no offense to any other university in the state. I don't believe there's another university in the state of Oklahoma who can touch Langston University in those two categories for a few key programs that we have. We are the most affordable four-year institution in the state of Oklahoma, and we have some very high-quality, high-touch programs. At Langston University, to my knowledge this semester and in the past few years, we don't have one class with over 60 to 65 students in it, not one. Our faculty to student ratio is 16 to 1, which means at Langston University, you get a high-touch education. Our faculty members, our faculty members actually get to know the students. They're not in large classes, and so if you prefer a high-touch education, Langston University is one of those, if we offer the program that you're looking for, that young people should consider. How much do you think Langston University costs this semester, just tuition, that a student took, if they're in state, and took 15 credit hours, which full-time load is 12 credit hours, but let's say it take 15. How much do you think tuition is? Let me blow your mind. 15 credit hours, just tuition, not fees, not room and board, not dining, just tuition. Take a guess. 3,000. 1,200. You're right again, Langston Professor. I'm impressed. $1,900. Good answer.
So you're gonna do small.
This osmosis, I felt it coming. But $1,900 is virtually unheard of to take a full load academically. And my point for mentioning that is, again, if we offer the academic program that a young person is looking for, we believe that Langston University should be at the top of their list. And so let me talk about a few of our key academic programs. And I think I'd like to go ahead and open it up to the floor because I don't think we'll have problems with questions in this group. Obviously, how many of you heard about a GOAT research program? Okay, so good. At least you've heard something about it. Langston University is not just #1 in the state of Oklahoma, not just #1 in the United States of America, but we have the #1 program in the world in GOAT research in the world. Just in the past 3 months, we've had visitors from China, Israel, and actually Africa to come and learn from our professors. We're doing anything from stem cell research to all kinds of studying the grazing habits of goats. And you know, for me growing up, I knew nothing. Well, in fact, growing up until a year and a half ago, I knew nothing about goats. My extent of goats were billy goats at the zoo, and I'm serious about that. But at Langston University, we have over 1,700 goats with who knows how many different species. And what we're trying to do is a better job of educating today's high school student about agriculture, because so many young people still see agriculture as just being about farming, and it's not. Technology has taken hold in agriculture, and certainly we want to do our part in exposing more young people to what's happening and the need of agriculture. You know, so even my 6-year-old, trying to help him to understand that how critical agriculture is just by the food we eat on a daily basis. You know, to him, we just go to Walmart, we buy what we need, and we consume it. But too often we don't expose young people to sort of the life cycle and the importance of our crops and what happens in our society in terms of agriculture. I want to talk about a couple other key programs we do. We were actually the first university in the state of Oklahoma to offer the doctorate of physical therapy degree, a program which we still have, which we believe is the top program in the state of Oklahoma. And I know our friends at University of Oklahoma would have something to say about that. But the truth is, I believe our programs are pretty equal. But certainly we're very, very proud of our doctorate of physical therapy program that we have. And you probably heard about that as well. Our graduates are sought after, typically have a minimum of 3 job offers at really, really great salaries. They make anywhere from $80,000 on up coming out of school. And we're actually about to break ground in January on a new school of physical therapy for us, which is a really, really big deal for one of our top programs on campus. You may have heard a little bit about our hard sciences, biology and chemistry. We are very, very strong. 88% of our students who graduate in chemistry in particular actually go on to either medical school or some type of professional school in the sciences or graduate school. So if you know someone who's thinking about the hard sciences, certainly Langston University education is one that can propel them. We do have schools of education, a school of education as well, which we offer degrees on all 3 of our campuses in those. Very, very strong school of nursing. Last year, we had the highest passage rate in the state of Oklahoma of any of the nursing schools. 100% passage of our graduates on a national nursing exam, both on the Langston campus as well as the Tulsa campus. And these are the sort of things you won't read in the media, but the truth is our educational opportunities that are available for young people are really incredible, because not only are we offering, again, a great education, we're doing it at a lower cost, at a very affordable cost than what a lot of other universities are able to do. So let me talk about a few things that I think are hurting actually universities as a whole, but in particular as HBCUs. If we don't hone in on these, a lot of us will have to close the doors. And that's the first one is branding and marketing. Again, how many of you have been in Oklahoma for your entire, resided as Oklahoma your entire life, born and reared Oklahoma? Okay? Okay, so a lot of them. But what a travesty that so many people have never set foot on a Langston University campus. But what I'm learning is I don't blame solely the state and others for not having visited a Langston University campus. It seems to me that we've not done a good job as a university of branding and marketing ourselves to tell you some of the very things that I'm telling you today. And so you'll start to see and hear Langston University in places we just haven't been before. We haven't thought of ourselves as an entity that needed to be branded and marketed. And also, when you think of HBCUs, a lot of us had such a large name recognition amongst blacks or African Americans that we really didn't have to go out and think of ourselves and market ourselves that way. But now nationally, because we're having to compete with everyone, This is an area that we have to figure out in a hurry. And so that's why you'll start to see Langston University out and about in places that we just haven't been before. The next is customer service. For those of us who have young kids who are entering today's colleges and universities, we've spoiled them. You know, the way I rear my kids is different from the way that my parents reared us. You know, the days of sending us outside at 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning saying, look, if you come inside, you stay inside. But if you need water, there's a hose pipe, and you stay outside. And we stayed outside the whole day, and we climbed trees, and we played hide and go seek, and football in the street, and climbed under the house, whatever it was. That's what we did. But today, my 6-year-old, my 2-year-old, they have iPods, they're on the internet. It's very different. And we've made today's student believe that they're the center of the universe. And guess what? Now they're entering America's colleges and universities believing that they're the center of the universe. And the point is, they expect great customer service. And if we don't figure out how to serve them in a dynamic way, they'll find another university who will. And quite often, and I'm talking about retention, and quite often we don't find out that they're leaving until they're long gone. And so it's one thing to recruit great classes of students, but it's another thing to actually keep them and to get them to the point of graduation. And so customer service has to be one, not just HBCUs, but universities as a whole. If we don't figure out how to serve these students, we're going to be swimming upstream for a long time, because they're going to go places who will serve them in a very dynamic way. And then the final piece for HBCUs, we're late getting into the game of doing development work, of actually fundraising. Historically, for HBCUs, while we have a lot of graduates, the truth is not a lot of graduates are giving back financially to their institution, their alma mater. In fact, the national average for HBCUs is less than 5% of alums of HBCUs give back in any financial way. At Langston University, currently we're sitting at 6%, which is actually double what the number of alums who are giving, the percentage of alums who are giving from just about 3 years ago. Our ultimate goal, we need to be in the 15 to 20% range. But folks, I'd say this to you, whether you give to an HBCU or to Oklahoma State or any institution, I firmly believe, and I couldn't stand before you today without saying this, please give something to universities. Because regardless of what university it is, there are so many young people who are in need, and there's so many success stories that I could tell you about that are happening, I know, right here in Stillwater with Oklahoma State, where OSU is giving opportunities to some young people who would not have otherwise had an opportunity to go to college. You'd be surprised what $50 or $100 a month contribution a difference it would make in the university's life as a result of the gift of being able to help young people. So I implore you, certainly if you don't want to give to OSU, we love to have the donation at Langston University. Seriously, just the important piece is to give. And I know we tend to look like big cash cows. You know, we're building $100 million stadiums and those kinds of things. But those are a means to an end, because today's high school student, they're looking for the total package. And very few universities are doing so well that they don't need money from anyone. So I think with that, I'd like to stop. You said you want me to stop? Okay, I will. Good Langston professor said stop it. No, seriously, I think I would like to open the floor to see what questions you may have of me, of Langston University, or anything. I'm an open book. I'm just excited to be here and to be able to be with you to talk about our state. Certainly Langston University is the only HBCU in the state of Oklahoma. But anything that you have, I'd like to, we're going to use the mic here to open the floor. So this is where I feel like a preacher. Is there one that has a question? Yes, ma'am. And help me, just tell me your name, and I'll try to quickly learn names.
Ruby.
Ruby?
Ruby Monster.
Okay.
I want to know what your enrollment is
question is, what's the enrollment at Langston University, and do we have international students? I mean, international, yes. We're not where we want to be in terms of international enrollment, but right now we're trying to solidify ourselves from an infrastructural standpoint to take care of students who are in-state and who want to come from the States. And at some point, probably about 2 to 3 years, you'll see us go through a broad internationalization piece. At one point, Langston University had a significant international population, and it dwindled. Current enrollment on the Langston campus, we're almost 1,700 students on the Langston campus. In Tulsa and Oklahoma City, we're around 450, give or take a little bit. The ultimate goal is to hit 2,000. Within 2 to 3 years, we want to be at 2,000 on the Langston campus, and the biggest growth area for us is going to be in Tulsa and Oklahoma City, where we want to be at 1,000 each on both of those campuses. At one point in Tulsa, Langston University had about 2,400 students in Tulsa. We actually were the first 4-year institution to offer higher education in Tulsa. And once a lot of others came in, and obviously there's less of a pool, we've dwindled, but we can get to 1,000. So that's where we are and where we plan to go. So we don't have dreams of having 20,000. You know, I think it's important for universities to figure out what their niche is and then to stick with it. And for us, I believe our niche will always be high quality, high touch education by keeping the numbers where they are. Growing a little bit, but sustaining those. Thanks. That's really good.
How can a person who's never set foot on the campus get a meaningful experience visiting?
First thing you would do is take my business card. And you would just call me, and yours truly is willing to give you a personal tour. If you've not been to the Langston campus, first of all, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. Second of all, I'm told if you've not been to the campus in the past 8 years, it is drastically different. Dr. Holloway did a phenomenal job of building the campus up from a structural standpoint. It is one of the cleanest campuses I've ever been on, and it's absolutely beautiful. I believe it's sort of a quintessential what college should be about. You know, the students initially, especially if they're coming from LA or from Chicago or Dallas, they come in and go, okay, this is in the middle of nowhere. But within about 3 weeks, something magical happens, and they become one big family. And what I say to the parents is, this is exactly the kind of environment that you want, because there's not a lot of places they can hide. There's not a lot of distractions outside of the campus, and so literally, that's why they get to know the faculty members in a direct way, and that's why they start calling themselves family. We describe it as the Langston family. You know, when you're in that type of environment, you can't help, it's like brothers and sisters. We fight and all that, but the reality is we love each other and we're family. So call me and you get a personal tour. I'd love to have you out. Yes, sir. Mr. Dave.
Out of the 106, how many are truly name brand?
You know, I don't know that actual number, but I can look it up and I can send it to the team. I'm not sure. It's a good question. Not sure.
Weren't they originally to be one per state?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Is Langston going to have a good basketball team this year?
Let's see. Women's basketball are expecting really, really big things. We brought in some big ladies. And when I say big ladies, 6'1", 200 pounds. We brought in 3 of those. And so, put it this way, the coach is selling his team as being very, very, we've had, actually, if you don't know sports, Langston University has a great legacy of sports. In fact, Marcus Haynes, some of you may recall, if you know the Harlem Globetrotters, some of you remember Curly Neal, the dribbler? Well, the person who actually taught Curly Neal how to dribble was a Langston University basketball player named Marcus Haynes. And Langston University's basketball team is the only college team to ever beat the Harlem Globetrotters. True story. And it's probably one of the reasons they started playing the same team all the time. The model doesn't work if you get beat. But seriously, I got to have dinner with Marcus Haynes about 3 months ago. And he had some entry. He actually went and played with the Globetrotters and then broke away and started his own, like a rival to them. Men's basketball, we did better. 2 years ago, we won, I think, 1 game. Last year, we probably won 10 or so. I was like, what is that number? But we do have high hopes for even men's basketball. And I will tell you this, our AD, if there's one word he doesn't know, and that's losing. And he'll tell you that. He doesn't. Out of our 7 coaches in his first year, he fired 5 of them. So he's committed to doing the right thing, doing it the right way, but winning. And
Does Langston still play Northwestern University at Alba?
in basketball,
Yes.
I'm not sure.
You know, that's when I used to go to the games, and Langston I was from that part of the state.
Okay.
And,
So who'd you go for? No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. You should have seen her look. She's looking at me like, okay, why is he asking me that? If we do, we'd love to have you back. And I'll get the tickets if you'd like. Okay. Actually, basketball was my sport. It's what I played growing up. Yes, ma'am.
Well, where'd you play?
Oh, well, I played in elementary, middle, and first year high school, and then stopped in Louisiana. And I actually coached that. I coached middle school
Did you?
basketball, yeah. So.
Do you know why I came today?
No, man. Dr. Showalter?
I grew up in a county in Oklahoma that did not allow black people to even spend the night. A lady came in the run and settled on 106, a black lady, and settled on 160 acres of land. And she lived close to the little town I grew up in. And she was allowed by the county government to keep her 160 acres.
Okay.
When she died, her son took it over. And he was the only black man that lived in that county. He was very well accepted, but he had to send his children to Enid to go to school because they couldn't go in that county. And so today I own that 160.
Really? Well, that deserves a round of applause.
I was Jim Miles was his name. I was with him when he died.
Okay.
And we were neighbors, he worked for us, we loved him very much.
Okay.
And I just needed to learn how to accept and learn to love all black people.
Yeah. You know, let me first applaud Ms. Berry.
Yes.
You know, applaud Ms. Berry. And this is, I know this is not what the talk is about, but being born and reared in Louisiana, the truth is, race relations, and none of us are very proud of everything that's happened in our history as a society. But I find that too often we're afraid to talk about things very openly, about our history, about what is and what isn't. And I say congratulations for bringing the topic up, because so many of us are so doggone sensitive. So many people are so sensitive that we can't just have a real discussion in today's society. And so I just think we need to open up more and talk about what is and what isn't. But most importantly, our kids today. Our kids have no sense of history, whether it's negative history or positive history. Most of them just don't have, we aren't teaching history the way it needs to be taught. And I know I was a history major and all that stuff, but folks, if we don't know where we've been, there's no way to know where we're going. And even my kids, even as a history, they don't want to hear it, but we need to have more direct conversations, because if you look at what's happening, let me give you an example. All the negative stuff is learned behavior, and a lot of times we don't realize that. But if you go to any elementary school and take me to kindergarten, let me just be in kindergarten all day long, and you put let's just say, let's break up racially, let's look at the demographics of the class and say it fits perfectly America. Those 4, 5-year-olds, they have no problems playing with each other. They have no problems hugging each other, loving each other. They don't care who the teacher is, by race and that kind of thing. But you fast forward to about the 1st grade and the 2nd grade, and some magical stuff starts to happen. They start repeating some of the stuff they're hearing at home. They repeat some of the stuff that their friends are saying. It's just negative. And half of them don't know what they're saying, but it's learned behavior. And the only way we can get better and stronger is if we're willing to have real conversations. But I have to be willing to hear people, and they have to be willing to hear me, and not come to the table with my mind made up. And you know, all of us have biases. All of us have them. But we don't talk about it enough. All right, I'm off that soapbox. I just appreciate you bringing that up. You've been waiting very patiently. I appreciate it.
15 years ago,
You've been waiting for 15 years now.
15 years ago, USDA funding to Oklahoma, we had a mandate that had to be John Langston and Oklahoma State University. And do they still maintain it?
Maintain
Do they work together?
Oklahoma State? Yeah, we were there, yeah. Yeah, now, I don't know if it's the same program, but clearly, and you know, that's one of the things I wanted to say in the talk. Clearly, we have some partnerships, but I also will be frank and say, I don't think Langston University and Oklahoma State have enough partnerships. We are too close to not be working closer together. And I don't think anybody has any bad intentions. You know, you go about your life and you don't think about the opportunities that exist. You just kind of do what you do every day. But I was just having a conversation with some of our students about this. You know, we don't have every academic program there is. OSU doesn't either. But what an opportunity. I guarantee you we have some programs that some OSU students would love to come and take a few classes, and vice versa. And so I'm going to talk to Burns Hargis at some point. I want to get us on the right track and doing certain things at a high level before we start to have that direct conversation. But regardless of whether that one is still going, we need to be doing more. And I give you my word, as Langston, we're going to reach out more to OSU. It makes too much sense. It just does. Yes, sir.
What percent of the students actually live in Langston, and what percent of the faculty live in Langston?
Wow. Well, all of our freshmen and sophomores are required to live on campus in Langston. And the reason we do that is for retention standpoint. Students who live on campus, not all, but the overwhelming majority of them do better academically and make it to graduation. The first 2 years are the most critical years that a student will have in terms of retention. You can lose them in year 3 or 4, but if they make it to that junior year, it's critical. The other thing that happens when you live on campus, again, you don't have as many distractions. You have a built-in family, all those kinds of things. So all of our freshmen and sophomores have to live on campus. Very few of our faculty members live in the town of Langston. That's one of the issue is, you know, some people say, well, we just need to build affordable housing. I don't think it's as simple as that, because take me, relocating. I live on campus, but there's a home on campus. I'm required to live on campus. But as a husband and as a parent, there's certain things you want for your kids. You want the best schools, you want the best opportunities, you want amenities. And right now, the town of Langston just doesn't have the amenities that a lot of high-performing, high-caliber faculty members would want. So that's part of the challenge, is what comes first, the chicken or the egg, and how you put very few. In fact, there's a lot of retired faculty and staff members that live in the town, but not current faculty members. Okay? Yes, sir.
Could you discuss the role of non-black students in the future for Langston?
Well, we are growing. Currently we're about 91% African American in terms of students. That's if you look at all three. Now, Tulsa is our most diverse campus. In fact, black students are not the majority in Tulsa, on our Tulsa campus. But you know, do I have a grandiose thing that somehow will become predominantly white at some? I don't foresee that. But what I do know, I know that today's families are looking for affordable education, that's high quality. And I believe, and I'm not just saying this because I represent Langston, I believe at Langston, no one could touch us when you put those two together. And so I think there's tremendous opportunity. One of the things I'm very proud of, we weren't recruited very heavily in Guthrie, for instance. We went heavy into Guthrie this past year, and we have 20 students from Guthrie High School, who are at Langston. And the beauty is, if you live within a small radius of the campus, we don't force you to live on campus if you're a freshman. So you could be from Guthrie, live at home, save that money, and have a high quality, high touch education, and they're starting to respond. For the first time ever, we're teaching an AP biology course, actually an AP course, but it's biology, at Guthrie High School. All of that's designed to start to get the Langston name out there, to get people, because if you aren't branding and marketing yourself, people aren't going to think about you. You know, to a lot of people, we've been this little small place that's there, but most have never set foot on the campus. So my goal is to get people to come to campus, because the first step is to take away the curiosity. And because when they come, they go, whoa, this is really nice. I was like, what did you expect? I don't know, but it's beautiful. And then it's just exciting. So I know we'll grow in terms of, in fact, just this fall class that we have. It's probably, I don't know, Doc, I don't know our numbers, but I know from a diversity standpoint, we're not where we want to be, but it's a more diverse class than we ever have. Here's what people do understand, whether white, black, Hispanic, Asian, they understand economics. And they understand that if you're offering me a full ride and another place isn't, they at least have to think about you. Or even if you aren't offering a full ride, I guarantee you Langston's offer is competitive with anybody else in the region, not just the state. We offer, if you have a 3.5 or higher high school GPA, you have a 22 or higher ACT score, that's a full ride at Langston. It's unheard of. And when I say full ride, that's your tuition, your room and board, all your fees, plus a $500 book scholarship per semester. Unheard of.
Yeah.
For 4 years. As long as you keep it, as long as you keep a 3.5 GPA when you get there, yes, that's 4-year full ride scholarship. And nobody can touch that. And that's for any student with that. That's called a CAVE scholar, which is our best. If you have a 3.3, anywhere from a 3.0 to that 3.5, and that same, you're below a 3.5 with that same ACT score or higher, you get a Regent scholarship where we pay all your room and board. You just pay tuition. I mean, it's unheard of. My point is, as more and more people, the mystique goes away, people become familiar with it, the economic model clearly works, the quality of the education is there, I think you can't help but consider Langston. That's why I see it, and I know it's going to happen, because there are a lot of families in Oklahoma who are struggling. And most parents just don't want to have a bunch of loans for their child coming out of college if they don't have to. And most at Langston, we were just ranked number 33 in the United States. This was this past summer. 33rd in the United States out of all universities in the United States of America, over 5,500 universities. Langston University was ranked 33rd in the United States in terms of affordability where students go on to graduate. That's what's right here in our backyard. Now, Oklahoma State was high on that list as well, but that's what we have. But still, for a lot of people, what we see as low cost is still high cost to them, because some families are just struggling and there's no way around it. Yes, ma'am.
What is your rate of graduation?
Sure. Actually, a really, really good question. 6-year graduation rate is about 30-35%, not where we want to be. The ultimate goal, we want to be in the 60s, 60%. But here's the thing. A lot of people will look at that number and go, oh my goodness, what's happening? Keep in mind, a place like Langston University is given an opportunity to a lot of young people who could not attend other universities. So while we have a lot of high-performing students, we also have a small portion that we give opportunity to. Some make it, and some don't. But that's part of the challenge. And then the other thing, the other reason I know that that's going to go up, one, we're recruiting better students. But two, we're starting to recruit more students from in-state. We had gotten sort of lopsided where the majority of our students were coming from out of state, and because they have to pay out-of-state fees, they're paying 3 times the tuition if they're from out of state and don't have a scholarship because they hadn't paid taxes, living in the state. So a lot of people don't know that's why out-of-state fees are charged. But because they got to a point they couldn't afford it for 4 years. That's why a lot will leave. Yes, sir.
What percentage of your budget is from the state of Oklahoma?
Yeah, it's funny, right before I came here, I just met with our auditors. It was a good audit, by the way. But I don't have the percentage, but what I can tell you is 18 million of 70 million. 18 million comes from the state of the $70 million budget that we have. So
And the other big chunks come from
tuition, fees, grants, those kinds of things. Fundraising efforts. So, it's funny because a lot of us as state universities are saying, we're no longer state supported, we're state assisted. But it's a challenge. You look at what's happening, it's not just Oklahoma, but nationally, states, down economy's coming back, but states have cut, what's the irony? They're cutting funding to education of all. Now, I work in education, so I'm biased. But clearly the way you work yourself out of some downturn is you educate people to provide greater economic opportunities for them. So that's a political issue.
What are your academic dreams for the school?
Sure. Academic dreams, first of all, we just hired 3 new deans who will start, well, actually all 3 started January 6th. But ultimately, if every academic program we have, I want us to be nationally recognized for them. Again, at Langston, we don't have hundreds of academic programs, but the ones that we do have, I want to be recognized nationally by way of student merit, how they're performing academically and getting jobs and going on to grad school, but also by our faculty. I think while certainly we're a regional institution, I think we could also do a better job of having faculty members who are writing more in journals, nationally, presenting, to make the university more prolific and give the name recognition to the university as well. So the hiring process of paying very close attention to who you're hiring, but setting clear expectations about why you're hiring them and what you're asking them to do. And Langston can do it. I really, there's no doubt in my mind that it can. We actually have a very prolific history in terms of faculty accomplishments and a few key academic programs, but I want to see that be across the board for all of the academic programs that we have. Am I out of time?
No.
But okay.
I'm right behind you. Can you just repeat the question? Go ahead.
I can repeat it, but.
You can say that.
Okay.
Are you still involved with the Pollard Theater at Guthrie?
Yeah, are we involved with the Pollard Theater in Guthrie? I've had a meeting with them, and it's been about 8 months ago now, and I don't think anything has come up of it. We do have some of our students that are part of the production, but it is something that we're having conversations about.
And you used to be, assistant.
Yep, I'm not opposed to it at all. In fact, the arts, and boy, if my mother could hear me saying this now, the arts are critical. And quite often we take the arts for granted, especially for African American kids. A lot of black kids are not exposed to the arts, and as a result, they don't develop an appreciation for it and actually have a lot of skill set in doing it if they're exposed. And then what I know academically is the more young people are exposed to the art, the better they tend to do academically. But ironically, it's one of the first things that most administrators cut. And it's catch-22. Yes, ma'am?
I just have to put a plug out here for you. You have a dynamite physical therapy school going.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Can I ask, you used to have
No, you're the host. You can't
you
answer.
used to have a master's physical therapy program, correct?
Yes,
And now it's only a doctorate level?
Yeah, here's why. What happened in the physical therapy profession, many years ago, you would graduate with a master's degree and you can go and be a physical therapist. The profession has raised the bar in terms of professionalism to where it now requires you to have a doctorate degree. So all of those who graduated with the bachelor's, actually we had a bachelor's program as well, bachelor's and master's, are now having to go back to school to get the doctorate because the professional standards say that you have to have the doctorate. So we actually have, I don't get to talk a lot about this publicly, but we not only have the program on the Langston campus, we also offer an online doctorate degree for practicing physical therapists who need to go back to get the doctorate, who've been practicing for a while, who had the bachelor's and master's. So we offer one of the few national online programs for those that go back to school to get their doctorate. So good question. Not that the other ones weren't.
Do you offer the physical therapy in Tulsa?
We do not currently. We have developed a new strategic plan. We would like to. We have to go through, we'd have to talk to OU and go through the whole process with the regents to get it approved. But we would like to offer a program. You can't graduate enough physical therapists in today's society. I mean, literally, there's a shortage of them. And so we believe that that's a key program that we could offer, that we already do well, that we could add to our class. At a minimum, we think that's about 5 years away. We have to build facility to do it. You have to go through an approval process and plan for it. The accrediting standards are very, very high for PT schools, of space you have to have. With faculty members are very hard to find. Well, actually, they used to be hard to find because it didn't require a doctorate. Now that the doctorate is required, the hard part is you almost have to have somebody who's practiced for a while, who wants to retire, or the money doesn't matter. They make such good. It's like nurses. It's hard to find nurses with a PhD, even if they have the nurse practitioner. They're in such high demand. They can go and command whatever it is that they want, just about. So that's the challenge. It's finding the faculty members.
What about nursing? Where's that campus?
Well, nursing we have on the Langston campus as well as Tulsa. We already offer that in Tulsa as well, which again, very, very strong programs. New Dean of Nursing starting January 6th, who's coming to us from Texas A&M, who I'm very, very excited about. I mentioned New Dean of Business, who's actually a brilliant guy. He's an economist who's coming to us from Morehouse College in Atlanta, but his PhD is from Wisconsin, which is one of the top business schools in the country. So we're excited. Again, it's all about bringing in the right people to lead us, but I promise you, you're going to hear about us in new and exciting ways that if you haven't in the past, you certainly will start to. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I just wondered about
They made you sit in the back?
how are you managing to attract all these new highly qualified? Is it just you, or?
Well, no, I can't. People told me when I got there it's hard to find good people who will come to Langston. I just haven't found that to be true. We put out the search, we hired a search firm, and we're talking about the future of Langston. And I think people are buying into what we want to be. First of all, who we've been historically. I think we've undersold ourselves. We almost stopped believing and understanding how prominent Langston University really is nationally. Langston University has national cachet and a national name, but we've not sold it that way. And so we're just telling the story, and people are going, yeah, I want to be a part of that. And it's exciting for me because, again, I was told a lot of people just won't move. And I'm going, okay, I moved. Not that I'm prolific or anything, but, I did move to Oklahoma. And Oklahoma gets a bad name. It's sort of, I'm from Louisiana. Louisiana gets a bad name, and people go, I have people all the time, why did you move to Oklahoma? When I accepted the job, Oklahoma? I go, have you been to Oklahoma? Like, no. And then people just hear it, and automatically, I don't know what they picture, but Oklahoma is beautiful to me. And what I really like about Oklahoma, that reminds me of Louisiana, people are friendly. I am more acclimated in Oklahoma than I was in the previous 6.5 years that I lived in Ohio. People say hi to you, they welcome you. Not everybody cares about you, but here, there are just good people here. And it reminds me a lot of home, meaning Louisiana. And so that's what I talk about when we're hiring people. And if I'm not telling them the truth, they're going to find out anyway. But you just spend a day or two here, you go to the mall or wherever you go. They're just nice people here. And that's refreshing for my wife and I. It feels right to us. And I think when you show that to people, they want a place where they can be comfortable. And then they get a chance to build something. That's exciting for anybody who's creative and who values education and who works in it for the right reasons. An opportunity like Langston is not one that comes along every day. So actually, I see it from the other vantage point of, why wouldn't they want to come? It makes so much sense to me. It just does. Yes, sir.
Either Yankton or either Langston doesn't have a football team when they keep it off quiet.
Well, we only, good to see you. We only have 3 home games this year. To make our budget, we play the first 4 games of the year. We play 4 Division I teams to get paid. No, it's a good point, and we need to do a better job of advertising. We have 1 game left, and it's in 2 weeks. Again, seriously, if you want tickets, I'd love to host you. Many tickets as you'd like to have. Time for one more.
What if you've got Jason Kirksey so darn excited about Langston that he just leaves and goes to Langston? If he was back here non-visiting.
I love it. Doc and I have spoken numerous times. I'm not trying to, Burns Harkins will kill me. He loves it. But you know, I think what I meant is what I really said in terms of, I think sometimes universities fight with each other, especially when you have close proximity. We don't have to do that. We can be, I mean, part of what we started talking about partnership. Everybody can win. Everybody can win if you have a real partnership. And the real kicker, if they see us doing it as adults, our 18 to 22-year-olds, all of a sudden, they start partnering. And a whole new world will open up to them that they never knew was possible. OSU asked me to come. I'm actually coming back for MLK this year. One of the graduate students there is putting on the MLK program, and he asked me to come and speak, but he wanted to meet with me. So he came out to the campus, and he said, I'm blown away. He said, I'm embarrassed. I've been in Stillwater for 5 years, and I came once, but it was to drop somebody off, but I never really paid attention. And he said, this place is magical. And he said, I'm almost angry because I could have gotten to know so many people. And then it turns out he was a history buff. So we have one of the best African American history museums that most people, Black Heritage Center, don't even know about. And they tell me he went in there and just lost his mind. Like, whoa. And just, again, little pockets of things that we have to tell our story better. Because I'm convinced people will come. There's just too much mystique about it. And a lot of people will never believe we've been around for 116 or going on 117 years.
Okay, and we do field trips all the time.
There you go.
There
there you go. Yeah.
We're coming out to see you.
Come on. Well, thanks for having me. And if you ever need anything or have questions, I'm happy to answer or attempt to answer or find the answers if I don't know them. I just appreciate the opportunity because we will be partnering more and more. Thank you for supporting Stillwater, OSU, and Langston. Look forward to talking with you in the future. Have a great day. Thank you.